Greetings, comrades. I am Admiral Andre. Welcome back to the second episode of our Kerbal Space Program career. The first order of business, of course, is just to explain some more about the previous episode, which was the addendum that I did yesterday. Now, it was for me yesterday. I was just thinking some of the things that I mentioned, like doing a income and expenses ledger and all of that. I'm definitely not doing that. I thought about it, but it's a little too convoluted, and that just gets a little crazy because, of course, when we take a contract, we get an advance, then we get some money when it's completed. Then we also get money and science for different milestones, which also explained why we had more science on that very first flight than we just got from the actual instruments. And then, of course, there's various penalties and fines if you cancel something or don't complete it, and hiring Kerbals, and it just gets a little crazy to track every single line of expenses and income. Our administrators here can do a very good job with that, and they just give me the total. That's all I need. I do the space operations side. I don't do the finance side. That is the job of Mortimer Kerman. The same applies to the science. I'm not going to track where we get every piece of science. That's Linus Kerman's job here. And so, of course, again, the only things that I'll be recording on my database here, that I have it open on my second screen, is of course the details of the launches and the times when they happen, of course, for the calendar. Right, so we are still on day one, and I was thinking about this with the calendar. This is New Year's Day. You can't have launches on New Year's Day. It's a holiday. So we have to, of course, pay our Kerbals overtime for all the work that they just did here with the 2 launches that we just completed a few minutes ago. So I think, of course, we know the week is 6 days long now. So I'm going to advance time a little. I was also working out the times of the various events here at the KSC. Of course, the reason for that is because universal time is not based on where the space center is on the planet. Of course, the whole universe does not revolve around this space center. And so we see, of course, here it's now 26 minutes past midnight, essentially, but of course it isn't here. So I was looking at when the sunsets are and when the sunrises are and so on, based on the space center, and I don't have that open now somewhere, but I think the sunrise is at 4:13, the noon is at 5:43, and the sunset, which is the moment when the sun passes just behind that mountain, is it 2:13? I think so. Let's test that theory. It's just so that one day when we are somewhere out in space, maybe on Elu or something, and we think, it's sunrise back at the KSC right now. I don't know, it's just romanticizing the whole thing. Oh, it's actually 1:13 then. You'll see the shadow creep up here. There we go, it's actually 1:11. Well, close enough. I'll note that down again. 1:11, the shadow falls over the space center. Right, of course that doesn't apply to the desert launch site, so we will launch from there. But I want to advance, let's say, to Thursday, so that would be day 4. Of course, it has to be day in the desert area. So we'll say it's late in the day 4. Of course, as I was thinking also, most of the time I'll just call it Monday, Thursday, etc. for quick reference. But of course I will keep now to Monday, Minday, Moday, Dunday, Eve Day, and Jewel Day. I think so. It's not, as convoluted as my own naming system, which I thought about, but it's nice. It adds something different. And the same for the months of the year. I noted them down here. So the 9 months are Nana, Mawu, Namu, Bendis, Konsu, Utu, Ninurta, Neti, and Inanna. Those are all gods and goddesses of the moon. Some of them are Egyptian, like Konsu, which I think is the new moon. Then there's Bendis as well, which I think is Thracian actually. And then, there's a couple of others, but it just adds something extra. Of course, we can still change that. So in any case, it's the 4th of Nana right now. So we have to do another launch. Now, in keeping with my timing of launches as discussed in the addendum episode, for suborbital sounding rockets, we don't have a limit because those are quite simple rockets. They are not, you don't need as many weeks of planning for them. So I am going to, of course, we still have to use a crew here to get some experience, but I'll use our engineer, of course, for testing the parachute. So that's going to be our first priority. Let's just go back to the contract before we strap Bill into the rocket. So we still have to do the Mark 16 parachute, which is 4 to 7K, 120 meters to 190 meters per second. So this is going to have to be a purpose-built sounding rocket to do the test for this particular contract. So in this case, I'm going to still use the same capsule. I don't save these because, as I mentioned in the addendum again, this is just purpose-built rockets. These are not for, kind of formal development. So in this case, of course, we'll strap poor Bill into the thing. And he will have to tell us how to do the test successfully. Now, when we're dealing with something as specific as this parachute test, we have to do liquid fuel. It's just a priority. It just has to be that way. So we'll do the usual things again. And in this case, I will just make it look a little nicer. So it just touches the widest part of the craft. Then the decoupler we haven't purchased yet. We got this last time because it was a test part, so we used it there because of that. But this time we have to now formally develop this part. So we're going to ask OMB Demolition Enterprises to develop this for us. And we've tested this obviously, so we know it works. And we can just roll with it. Right, now this doesn't have to look too impressive, so I'll just put the tanks on now. And of course this is still very simple, so we don't need to do complicated work here. And we can't anyway. There's not any parts for detailing really. But as before, I think let's start using a very simple kind of launch clamp system. Of course we don't have that yet, so we'll use these girders again. Just like that. Last time I think there was a bit of a wobble because they were actually the decoupler was sticking out on the bottom. Anyway, in this case we won't let that happen. So let's just check the thrust here. Now we have to get up to 7 kilometers, but this can do that, I believe. So we'll just limit this. Let's say to 175. That's perfect. And then of course the parachute is the thing that we have to test. So this is basically all that we're going to do for this craft. Very simple, no need for science. Our client for this particular launch is the R&D department. But I think we'll also say it's us as well, the KASA, K-A-S-A, because we're still getting our crew some experience. So this is Pioneer 3, and this is named after our great comrade Lee Foster. Just have to put the R in there. Right, so Lee Foster, this is your mission. Let's hope we can complete the contract and get paid for the expenses that we have here. So of course we won't have control, that's the other thing. So I will put fins on this. Of course that means on the way down we have to separate, otherwise we'll go nose first into the ground. Right, that'll do. And since we now have the parachutes, let's ask, found lying by the side of the road, so let's ask our own engineers to develop us a radial mount parachute, and we'll put 2 of those on here. Let's actually do it on this side so that the engine doesn't land first, and we'll see if we can recover that. I'll just make the minimum pressure quite high. Again, this is a first kind of test, so it doesn't have to be too great. Right, desert launch site, here we go. Right, comrades, here we are. It's just before sunrise, so let me just note the time in our log quickly. Right, it's noted. So, now the next thing is, let's wait until 5:30 before we launch, so we can do a proper countdown. Of course, we can't do SAS, so I'll just have to warp a little bit. And then we will do the test. So we're getting closer to the blast off. Right. 40 seconds, comrades. By the way, SN15 did a fantastic job. Congratulations to SpaceX for that. T-minus 30. So yes, I don't comment a lot on that, but obviously I am following it, and it's very, very exciting. So it's great to look forward to the next step. Right, T-minus 15. And by the way, if Bill dies, he dies now, right? 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And ignition. Beautiful launch, of course. So yes, we will do tests and then revert those, of course, but I won't revert the proper missions. Now we have to keep an eye on our requirements here, and as soon as we meet them, we have to stop. Now we are in the right speed, we can throttle down. That's the benefit of the liquid fuel, of course. And I just need us to get above 4 kilometers. Now, do it. It's done. Of course, we first had to separate. Now we have a very weird and dangerous situation here now. Yes, let's try and remove ourselves from that. Now, because we're so close to the booster stage, it should have no problem deploying its parachutes. Just don't hit us now. But that's the test complete. And we just go down to the ground. So there is Minmus, I think. It should show the label, but I don't know if it is doing that now. Let's have a look at this. Where's that option? Show names on mouse over. It should do that, but maybe sometimes it isn't interested. Maybe low in the atmosphere. I don't know. Anyway, here we are. We are going down. Where is our accompanying booster? This is our first reusing of a launch vehicle, so this is very interesting. Of course, this is not mod related, so we just do a kind of test here, and of course you can't do this if you are far away from the other stage, then it will just despawn. But we don't need a mod for this yet. I just can't do time warp now. We can do physical time warp, no problem, but anything else is not going to be good. Then that will just disappear, I think. Anyway, there we are. Bang, on the ground. Bill has had his first successful mission. Now we just have to wait for this to come down. It should land with a tank first. It looks like it's fighting it a little bit there. Yes, because the engine is the heaviest part of the rocket now. So it wants to be on the bottom, but I need the engine to survive. And flat on the side. Let's go see what happened. That was quite a dramatic landing there. And what a beautiful location actually. It's just after sunrise in the desert. The fresh morning air is very pleasant, and it's nice and cool in the morning, of course. Right, so the engine survived. We can reuse this for the next mission. And the 2 fins survived, so we lost 2 of them, but that's nothing. That's the least that we could have lost. So I'll recover this one, and then I'll recover the craft, so we can complete the mission and get our reward for that. Right, of course it won't show anything here, but we do get the money back for that, of course. Hi again, Gene Kerman. This is the first time we actually look at the map screen in the actual tracking center. Right, Lee Foster, we are recovering you. It was a complete success, and we did get a tiny bit of science just as a default, and we did get some of our funds back. And 1 XP for Bill. This is good, so we spread it around. Bill gets award for completing any significant contract. I wonder how they define significant. Award for landing on Kerbal, so he also gets that. He didn't go very far, but we achieved our mission. I'll note this in the log while I do the editing of this video. Then I'll put in the landing time and that it was a success. So here's our reward, of course, 28,125. It was complete. Now we are free again to do whatever we want. And mission control. Now, of course, we start to really get more and more contracts here. Now, the observational surveys don't make any sense until we have airplane parts, because you need to navigate to that specific point. We can haul a heat shield into flight, but this is basically at the edge of space. I don't know if we're quite ready for that. We can test a heat shield lander at Kerbal. Of course, we can do that one. That's easy money. Haul the hammer solid fuel booster into a suborbital trajectory, but that means we need to just take it there. I don't think you can. I don't know if you need to not activate it. Just says have it though, so, but that's way up. By that time you've ditched your solid fuel long ago. Test the thumper solid fuel booster. That's the big one. Now that's again very precise, and when it comes to solid fuel boosters, and especially now having to carry that to that altitude, I don't know. I don't think we'll do that. Let's just then try and escape the atmosphere. That's a good one then. So we'll do them when they make sense. Now, if it comes to the heat shield, I think we will do that when we launch our vehicle to escape the atmosphere anyway. We're not going to do a separate test for that. Or should we? No, otherwise it doesn't make sense. So I think now this week is concluded, comrades. So we are going to go to the 7th day, which is again Monday of the 2nd week. So beware for some time warping. And this is Jewel Day, and Jewel Day is almost over. And it is now day 7. Of course it's a bit weird because the KSC is like it's day when the one day switches to the other, so it's one moment is weekend and then the next is again Monday. But anyway, that's just how the universal time works. So I think again we'll do this in the desert. It's thematically sensible, so let's wait a little bit longer until the sun starts to set here. There. That's good enough. Right, so in this case I will take, since we did the launches for Valentina and Jeb on day 1, so now it's exactly been a week. So I think they are ready for another launch. And for this one, let's just spend our science first. General rocketry I want definitely. This is the Reliant, the Thumper and the bigger fuel tank. We'll research that. There's the launch clamps. Not strictly necessary, any of this really. Of course struts are fantastically important, but we can do without that for now. Science, yes. Let's just think, what else do we want? better fins, always useful. Fins and radial decouplers. Or even more engines. I think I'm going for more engines actually. The next one I'll go for more science. So we'll take this one as well. Very useful actually. This will just give us more control for this specific mission. We're not going for science on this mission. So that's the other thing. We'll have to distinguish between the types of missions. You can't just try and achieve everything with a single launch. It doesn't work like that. Now, let's begin planning this vehicle. Now, this is going to be not a Pioneer, I think. The Pioneer class is really just, we're trying to achieve things, kind of basic things in a way that are quite low in the atmosphere. They're not proper escape the atmosphere kind of suborbital rockets. So we will say new on this one. Now, of course, we're still limited by our parts, so we can't do the greatest detail work yet. We're not going to do the onion. It doesn't have control. We don't have a reaction wheel yet. It's asking for trouble. We will do the normal kind of Mercury capsule. Now, for this one, should we try inverting the color maybe? Why not? Why not? Let's do that. Now with tanks again, we can't do too much for, again, making this look like a Mercury capsule. Of course, that's not the goal here anyway. But we'll just do the normal parachute on the top. I want to play around with this actually a little bit. Now it basically is at the perfect point anyway, because it has this little ridge right there and the outer edge of the parachute sits perfectly with that. Yes, so I wouldn't move it then. Right, the heat shield we have to do because we need to test that anyway. It's obviously not that one, it's the normal one. And again, it sits a little too high up for me. You see, it can still go wider until it gets to that point there. There, now it's more perfect. Not that that's the goal necessarily, but you know me. Now, do we go like this or do we go like this? Well, we're still trying to protect the heat shield, so I think we'll go like this. Of course, we don't have a smaller decoupler yet, but this will have to do. I'll just put it flush with that because there's no reason not to. If I turn the shroud off, we see they're not clipping anyway, so it's not wasting any space there. Now this craft weighs 1.2 tons. We can round it to 1.3. Now a light lift launch vehicle, or small lift launch vehicle actually, can lift 2 tons to orbit, to low orbit. Now in this case, if I add a fuel tank, that takes it to 1.8 point whatever, and then an engine will push it over actually. That's the smallest one, the lightest one. Yes, it's 2.3. We'll actually no, we won't allow it. We'll take fuel out, and of course monopropellant. We're not doing medium lift vehicles yet. Of course, eventually we'll have parts to make this work better, but that's as close as 2 tons as you can get. Now in space, this will have 356 meters, which is more than enough for a re-entry and even for the final orbit circularization. So I think this is perfectly fine. Actually, we're not doing an orbit even. What am I thinking? Actually, I'll save this one. I'll just say orbit. We've already built the orbital vehicle. For suborbital, we can do the same. In this case, I'll just fill it up. And then we'll just add a normal stage. I'm thinking ahead already. Again, we're not doing science on this one. And for this engine, I like the way it looks here, especially since we don't have smaller tanks that we can add and make it look more interesting, you know, detail work. This is the best we can do at the moment. Now for the normal booster, this is the upper stage then. And the normal one will ask again Jeb's company to develop for us the FLT 200 tank and the FLT 400 tank. This is a revelation in rocket technology. Right, now let's do just a normal white one here. And we want the proportions to look right. I mean, the Redstone rocket wasn't just that tall. It was quite a tall vehicle. Now we don't have the structural elements yet, so I can't fill it up with empty things or, you know, hollow structures. We'll just have to make empty tanks if I want to make it very tall. Maybe two more. That kind of looks more appropriate, I would say, but of course it's too much for a normal launch. And I like to put a fairing on this just to make it look a little more nice here, but this will do. This is early days, early experiments. Actually, that's enough. That gives us 3409 plus. That's a lot. That's enough for orbit even, so we don't want that. We'll empty this. Actually, we should empty the top ones. Should that be enough? I think so. Let's try it anyway. Now, of course, we will... Should we add fins to this? No. Nah. It's gonna go bad, but anyway. Yes, in this case, we do have the reaction control there and a gimbling engine. What is our thrust to weight? Way too high. 124. Yes, it has to just claw its way off the ground. We will do the kind of launch clamp system again. Kind of jury-rigged one. Actually, wait. I need to get under in that. Almost like a stand more. I don't know. Something interesting. Now, that's unnecessary expenses, I know, but we'll get that back again. And this will have to fire at the same time. And I don't think we need really anything else for this. Yes, we could do an antenna, but we're just going up and coming back down again. So now we need a rocket class for suborbital sounding rockets. Not necessarily sounding rockets per se, but suborbital rockets in general. So for this, I will call it the... Let's call it the Pulsar. We'll start using astronomical objects, pulsars, neutron stars. Well, we won't use that necessarily, but pulsars, quasars, novas, and supernovas, I think. So we'll call this the Pulsar 1, and this will be named after Comrade R4 Gaming. Welcome. There we go. Anywho, let's see what we need else, because this is again not something that we can revert. If it's a official launch, we can't revert that. No science. This is just to get us at the edge of space, basically. I don't know if there's going to be any value to put parachutes on the booster. We're going to be too far away from it at this point. But that's fine. Let's just save this now. So the Pulsar is our first kind of reusing design. This is going to be our basic suborbital rocket design. Now for this, again, we'll use Jebediah. He was the first. He has his flight suit on there, and we will launch from the desert. Here we are, comrades. It's again a lovely day, but a hot one. So I think let's do the test and just do that part. We're doing a basic check, you know. We have to be sure everything is safe before we do the launch. And we are happy with the results of the heat shield test. So we are okay with that. And Jeb is ready to go. Let's just look at the time again. We'll say we'll launch at exactly 1 o'clock. And for this one, I'll put music on. You remember how we used to do, comrades? Yes, we're getting back into the swing of things. It's true. Right, 60 seconds has passed. And we can turn the SAS on. So, let's get ready, comrades. Brace yourselves. This is our version of the SN15. Of course, more like a Redstone Mercury, but still. 40 seconds. We'll just pitch over to the east again, so we don't land right here. Maybe I'll do a roll first and then a pitch, but I should actually pre-roll our vehicles. If we don't need to change our inclination straight from launch, then of course you still have to do a roll. Anyway, 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Oh, that's a slow one. But here we go. Yes, comrades, we make it to the edge of space, indeed. I was wondering there at the beginning with that slow launch if we were going to make it, but yes, we did, and it's exactly what I wanted. Now, you also saw the fantastic engine effects there, especially on the upper stage from the waterfall mod. That's really fantastic. Anyway, they were singing at one point. I think that was quite appropriate. They were so happy, the Kerbals, that finally we're going back to space again. Now, of course, we just coast up to our apoapsis, and then we will just, I think we'll do a crew report I know it's technically science, but I mean, you're not going up there and not reporting on what you see. So I think let's turn the SAS off at this point. So it has been now 3 minutes and 21 seconds. If I switch back to our time, it's exactly the same, the mission time. So we'll probably be back on the ground in 5 minutes or so. We are in space. We're the first in space. There we go, comrades. We've made it back again. Of course, in this game, it's the very first time. Right, world's first milestones. We'll have a look at all of those. We are not currently in contact with the desert launch facility because their transmitter is very weak. So this is also why we need a geostationary satellite network, or geosynchronous at the very least. Right, let's do a crew report. And Jeb says, it seems we are very much in space right now. The sky seems to be mostly below us, which is exactly what we would expect. Of course, again, this is the first time we make it to space in this game, so we're testing various theories and ideas. We're not sure exactly what the space environment is like. And I have to say the Kerbals are very brave because they always do crewed missions before uncrewed missions. So they would rather get someone to report back in person instead of having a machine do it, which I can say there's something to that, certainly. Of course, we don't want unnecessary risks, but nothing beats an experienced pilot or scientist or engineer on site. And this is our Design Bureau flag still. Of course, once we have the option to add more flags to a craft, I will do that. Alright, let's hope Jeb does not pass out during the return. So we will turn off all controls now and prepare for re-entry. Welcome back to the ground, comrades. 5 Gs more or less, and very little heat effects actually. We were not going that fast, so it was actually a very good mission here. Right, so we're back, and Jeb becomes the first, of course, to see the edge of space there. And we'll just recover the vehicle and go through our mission report. Right, comrades, we're back. 13 science earned. 924 funds recovered. And Jeb got no XP. Of course, he has to orbit before he gets any. But he did get his G-Force 5 ribbon. His first Kerbal in space, that's the one that everyone wants. The significant contract again, and the distance record as well. So he basically ended up greater than 10 kilometers from the launch site. I think that might be on the ground because previously we also were higher than 10 kilometers. So probably he landed further than 10 kilometers away. So let's have a quick look at our milestones. We do see there's all the different funds and all that. Let Linus and the team deal with, do all the accounting and all of that. Achieve the goal. And this one I want to take a picture of, F2. Let's do F12 too. What is it like up there? We hope it's fun because you're coming back very soon. Excellent. Great stuff there, comrades. Now it's basically, well, it's really the start of the Monday still, so I'll have to do some fast forwarding before our next launch. But I think that'll do for now. I know again it's a slow start. Obviously we have to do these very basic contracts first before we can get into more complicated and exciting missions. But still this is exciting because it's progress in the right direction, which is very much needed. So I will see you again soon, comrades. I will put all of this into our mission log and into our calendar just now after I finish the recording. And yes, I'll add any names to the comrade list as well. So I'll see you again soon, comrades. Have a fantastic day.